There we go. Hey, gang. Yeah, I know it's Sunday. Wow, that's loud. Yeah, I know it's Sunday. I got to figure out how to bring down my own. Without bringing down the rest of the music. I mean, I can just cut. I want to hear myself. That's kind of important. Anyway, it is Sunday. I'm not usually on the air, but we figured we'd take to social media and address. I mean, crunch time. We're coming there. You know, it's getting to be. It's getting to be that time. And I was in the process of going through a bunch of different things when I came across a Politico post or whatever. Oh, this guy again. So I'm on my LinkedIn page instead of my profile. There's more people following on the profile, but I don't know that they're all actually interested in politics. So now that I've got a good following on the up the middle page, I've switched over to broadcasting to that on LinkedIn. And I've got a bunch of the test destinations that I'm watching tonight as we broadcast. And in the process of coming to the list of everything that's going on, I saw this guy that posts on the daily anti Kamala, anti Waltz. Excuse me, I've got an eye issue that's been bugging me. Anti, just pro MAGA, MAGA, MAGA. And so finally, after seeing a Politico story about Trump returning to the campaign trail to basically restoke the fires of fear and Trump returns to his grievances for his closing argument. That's the Politico headline. And that was as of an hour ago. I mean, if you're going to unite the country, he might be a little late. It was Trump at his most aggravated and discursive, wow, on Sunday as election day nears. And I'm going to tell you why that is. As soon as I find my cursor, and there we go. In Lititz, Pennsylvania, at Lancaster Airport, Donald Trump barreled, this is from Politico, Donald Trump barreled through Sunday in a state of seeming rage from which nothing and no one appeared safe. He said he shouldn't have left the White House in January of 2020, a remarkable admission for a former president whose attempts to cling to power led to a deadly riot at the Capitol. I was asked about this. David Beckmeyer from Outrage Overload said, what if he did decide to do that? Would it be a showdown between anybody and anybody? I said, to the best of my knowledge, a little known secret is that we, because he was referring to the Secret Service on some level, my former employer, we moved him from the White House. Probably, somewhere along the lines of, Mr. President, it's time to go. and that's it. I gotta see if this is check 1 2. Oh, there we go. There we go. Okay, so it's time to go. You gotta go. He suggested he wouldn't mind if someone had to shoot through the fake news to get to him, an escalation of violent rhetoric that his team quickly sought to clean up. So here's why he's doing that. I saw another one of his henchmen setting up the "we lost because it was stolen" BS again. Let's go through some actual history at this point. He loses Iowa to Ted Cruz, who's losing to a before now no name Democrat. He loses to Ted Cruz in Iowa. Claims that Ted Cruz cheated. How? How do you cheat in small towns across a medium-sized state? Well, you don't. Fast forward to 2020, and Joe Biden gets a rather handed victory, to which Donald Trump's own Department of Homeland Security, the department charged with the oversight of the 2020 election to maintain the fairness, said that it was the most secure election in history. Not just the most secure recently ever, kind of, sort of, we did good this year. No, the most secure in history. So I'm going to start, kind of help you understand why Trump is doing this now, and why he has been doing this for a little bit. During the campaign of 2004, 2004, my second one in the Secret Service, first one as an actual agent. The one in 2000 when I came on in Philadelphia to the hosting of the Republican National Convention in a very Democrat city. I was not yet through training during the course of that convention. And really, it wasn't until after inauguration of George W. that I fully got through training and actually became an agent. So my real first campaign where I was very active was 2004. The advance team that I was on was one of the more popular ones. We had a good team. Jeff Barnacle was our lead. I was our site agent. Whitey was our. Did he do TSD? I think, yeah, from Atlantic City. And I'm brain forwarding on who our fourth was that would have done protective intelligence. But we were liked among the Kerry and Edwards campaigns. Our team did a pretty major site in Philadelphia. I did an outdoor venue at 17th and Ben Franklin Parkway. And if you know anything about those cities and about Philadelphia and those intersections, 17th Street is rather narrow. It crosses the Ben Franklin Parkway and heads south. West of Broad Street. The odd numbered streets go south. East of Broad Street, they go north. And so 17th Street is southbound, crossing the Ben Franklin Parkway, which leads from City Hall through Love Park, and then, as you know, to the bottom of the steps of the Philadelphia Art Museum, if you're at all familiar with the movie Rocky. That was Bill Clinton's first public appearance after his open heart surgery. That site had the support of many of the Philadelphia Eagles, Patti LaBelle, other big Democratic figures, the district attorney of Philadelphia, the mayor of Philadelphia was John Street at the time. Lynn Abrams was the district attorney. Pretty impressive considering this was 20 years ago this year. And one of the people that was there was a multimillionaire that I was a huge fan of, John Bon Jovi. And I still am. And it was because of some conversation with some colleagues that I remained a fan after he kind of blew me off and was a bit of a dick. And I learned later the reason why. I knew going into it that he donated a lot of money to the Kerry campaign. And when you do that, you kind of expect, some results. For example, he got to travel with John Kerry and sat in the limo with Senator Kerry. Okay, but still, what do you really expect? Well, they expect to win. That's why you're running, because you think you can do better than the other guy, or now the other gal. But what they've also got, and we talked about this on our show this past Friday, is a ground force capable of really polling the constituents in that area, in that state, in that region, in that district, and wherever, and get to the bottom of what really is likely going to happen on election day. Now, this was way before all of this early voting that takes place. You voted on election day or you didn't vote, for the most part. There was absentee ballots and so on, but by and large, you voted on election day. Employers are actually required to give you a sustainable amount of time off. That's not outrageous and not like the whole day, but you are to either leave early, come in late, whatever is prearranged to vote, to afford you the opportunity to do your civic duty and your right. But I mentioned that they've got an infrastructure of people on the ground nationwide. And what I learned later, the reason why John Bon Jovi was a dick to me, and it wasn't that bad, I was leading them out of the meeting to the cars. I led them out of the meeting to the cars. There's another agent that was already in front of me, so he was on the door to the limo. So even though that's my position as the site agent, he was an agent that was held back by the cars, so you fill in the hole. That door was the hole, and he filled it in. So I went to the next one, which is the number 2 door on the driver's side for the number 1 VIP. That was John Bon Jovi. And as I held the door open for him to get in, I said something appropriately polite, like, "Have a good day, sir," or whatever. And he was visibly pissed off. Didn't really acknowledge me all that much at all. And, in my mind, was kind of a dick. He gets in the car. I see that his hands and feet are clear. I shut the door and I get over it. And here I am talking about it 20 years later, so I guess I'm over it, right? But yeah, I was kind of bummed by that one of my rock heroes was that way. But I learned later after discussing this with some other agents, and this is when, even as a political scientist in college, I didn't know this, or political science student in college, I didn't know this. And that is that they've got the infrastructure in place, so much so they know, really, when it comes down to crunch time like it is today, whether or not they're going to win. And that was when they broke the news to Senator Kerry and to John Bon Jovi that they were not going to unseat George W. Bush. And so that same thing is happening right now. They know Kamala Harris is going to win. I've been telling you. And I've had my own suspicions as to why for a long time. But the point that I'm making is this: the Trump campaign suspects they're going to lose. And so Donald gets ahead of it by starting this stop the steal all over again bullshit. His lackeys are doing it already. As I mentioned, he did it in Iowa when he lost to Ted Cruz. He did it again in 2020 when he lost to Joe Biden. It's what he relies on because, of course, it's never his fault. It's never the fact that he gave oral sex to a microphone. It's never the fact that he opened his mouth with a hot mic saying that it's okay to grab women by the kitty cat, as I heard Brian Shapiro say on the air last week. It's never his fault. And so he gets up in rallies saying shit like this. Try to go through more of the article here with you. He further worked to stoke fears about rigged election in a country where voter registration applications remain under review for potential fraud. And he railed against crooked polls and showed warning signs to his campaign. And that was all in just one rally. Just another day on the trail. It was Trump at his most aggrieved and discursive. He marveled at several points here that he had veered quite far off the teleprompter script. A window into the former president's psyche in the final hours of his 2-year campaign to retake the White House that he still, as he indicated Sunday, falsely believes was stolen from him. Have you heard any of this before? Trump traded his blunt anger for a toned down but still rambling campaign speech at his next stop in North Carolina. But his comments from Lititz were still circulating widely online. It is everything a Republican does not want to hear and everything that Donald Trump and his base wants to hear, said Matthew Bartlett, a Republican strategist and former Trump administration appointee. Another one that's left the administration or gotten off the Trump train. Part of the reason why he's running is his grievances. And it should be no surprise that he's almost becoming his closing statement. I mean, it pretty much has been. If recent days are an indication, it is his closing argument. There you go. And his closing strategy. Trump diverged almost immediately from his prepared remarks when he took the stage over an hour late Sunday morning at Lancaster Airport in central Pennsylvania. He started by suggesting that taking days to tabulate ballots would open up avenues for fraud, in a retreat of his unfounded claims from 2020 that were not upheld in court. He accused his opponents, without evidence, of orchestrating ways to cheat in the election. He called Democrats demonic, and his rival, Vice President Kamala Harris, as nothing more than a vessel for her party. Then he began discussing the enhanced security measures at his rallies following 2 apparent assassination attempts. Trump pointed out the panes of ballistic glass surrounding him at the outdoor venue and said, "To get me, somebody would have to shoot through the fake news." He added, "I don't mind that so much." His campaign soon issued a statement denying Trump was wishing harm on the media. Spokesperson Stephen Chung said Trump was brilliantly talking about the 2 assassination attempts on his own life. Something that the media constantly talks and jokes about. And that his remark about protective glass placement has nothing to do with the media being harmed or anything else. Then why is he talking about it 2 days before the election? So either your guy is batshit crazy or he's a really poor candidate. He's left you no other options. Chung claimed that the former president was implying the media was in danger and should have had glass protective shield also. Really? I like the bigger statement about the protective glass when J.D. Vance said, "We don't have an issue with violence or guns in our country." A statement he made from behind protective glass. Later, as Trump criticized Democrats over border security, he lamented leaving the White House in 2021 in a seeming this microphone's in a seeming continuation of his false claims that he won the 2020 election. "We had the safest border in the history of our country." Not true. "The day that I left. I shouldn't have left," Trump said. Meanwhile, this past July, there were fewer illegal crossings in the in the entire month of July, 4 weeks or more, than there were in just the 3 weeks of Trump in January of 2021. The former president also promoted falsehoods about election issues that have cropped up in Pennsylvania as he and his allies continue to lay the groundwork for challenging the results of this election. Trump claimed there were fraudulent ballots found in Lancaster County, where election officials said they were investigating potentially fraudulent voter registration forms. He accused Democrats of looking for ways to cheat. He complained that we're in court all the time in Pennsylvania, but that judges aren't particularly friendly to challenges his campaign and allies are filing. And he lamented that those raising alarms about real or perceived process issues, including himself, are being cast as conspiracy theorists. But when you actually have no evidence to present to these judges, it's a conspiracy theory. "It's a damn shame," Trump said at one point. By the time he hit North Carolina, Trump seemed at times to lose track of both which state he was in, shocker, and what he was talking about. Speaking to supporters on an airstrip in Kingston, taking the stage 2 hours late, Trump mistakenly suggested the Pennsylvania Senate candidate David McCormick was in the crowd. "We have great Republicans running, and you have one of the best of all right here, David McCormick," Trump said. "David is here around someplace. We just left him. He's a great guy." He also told a fictional story about the deceased Al Capone and MyPillow CEO Mike Lindell having dinner together and Lindell offering Capone pillows. If he didn't sleep well because he didn't like Mike's pillows, Mike had almost no chance of living. He would dispose of Mike somewhere in a foundation of a building or something. You would never see Mike again. Mike does not want to have dinner with Scarface. So your boy's pillows suck, is what the takeaway is here of your fake story. Even the crowd in Kinston seemed confused at the number of Trump's remarks, mainly drawing applause only when he turned to his scripted speech about his policy goals. Oh, he actually talked about policy? And Trump's voice seemed to be giving out throughout his remarks. After giving hours of worth of speeches a day in a final, well, I mean, that's understandable. You heard me hacking a couple seconds ago. Trump's rants came on the heels of a spate of polls released over the past 24 hours that have carried contradictory messages for the former president. The final Des Moines Register poll by the much venerated pollster J. Ann Seltzer showed Trump 3 percentage points behind his rival in Iowa, a state that did not look to be competitive this year. He also found Harris leading by wide margins among women, a group Trump has long struggled with, and holding an advantage with seniors, a group that typically breaks for Republicans. I said this wasn't going to be close. Didn't I say that? Yes, I did. The last slate of New York Times Siena College battleground surveys, meanwhile, found Trump leading in Arizona and Michigan and tied with Harris in Pennsylvania, but trailing in Nevada, Georgia, and North Carolina, the state he is sinking more effort into in this final weekend than all-important Pennsylvania. Trump's campaign dismissed the Iowa polls as an outlier and accused the New York Times of driving a voter suppression narrative against the former president's supporters. Trump slammed one of my enemies for putting out the Iowa poll and declared he's not down in the state. He cast polling more broadly as corrupt. Oh, of course it is. That's right, because it doesn't go his way. Can't be good. His supporters in the crowd in Pennsylvania broadly said in interviews that they did not believe polls that showed him tied with Harris there. He claimed, based on crowd sizes at his rallies, that Trump would win the state and that the empty spaces at the event were because of mid-morning rally conflicted with church. This part makes absolutely no sense. Trump repeatedly acknowledged and seemed to relish how widely he had veered off script in his Pennsylvania rally. Said Trump, "I love being off these stupid teleprompters because the truth comes out. It's your campaign, dumbass. You can put on those teleprompters whatever you want." Of course, we're talking about a guy who can't vet a comedian, let alone his own staff. So what are we going to expect when it comes time to get a Secretary of State? At another, he attempted to preempt media reports of his rambling by urging his supporters to say his speech was brilliant. He added, "Please." That's it. That it ends there. He added, "Please." Oh, wow. So for show notes, I'll put all this with the Facebook post to one of the up the middle. I forget which one. Let's put it with everybody's getting pissed off. I would give them the truth. Oh, maggots, I love you. Just trying to figure out which one's going to be the best. I'm just going to put it on my own. Ross Yerger. Go to that one. The comments on Ross Yerger, my personal page, not my actual profile, will be with a link to that article. And I'm also going to do right now the USA Today is another one. I'm just going to throw that one in because we're going to wrap this up. But here's what I think is going to happen with here's what I think is going to happen on Tuesday, and what's really happening already. There's our map. See if I got it up there good. Yeah, nice. All right, 270 to win. We'll put that link up there too. What you see already are 3 shades of red and 3 shades of blue. That's how 270 to win, and most of the polls think it's going to go. We're going to find out. Um, this is kill, and this is real key. Um, she's leading in Iowa. That's a kick in the pants. That's a 12-point swing because it's 6 more for her, for Vice President Harris, and 6 fewer that he already had tallied for Trump. It's saying that he's leading in Michigan, so let's go with that, but not in Wisconsin. And I'm not going to lie to you, gang. I don't think he's going to get Pennsylvania, even with Shapiro not being selected as the vice president. I think beyond eking that out, I think I think that's going to be handed. These polls currently are showing her leading in North Carolina and Georgia. I mean, there you go. We're already over 270, 293, and we didn't even tally Arizona, which I think might go to him, and Nevada, because Nevada is Las Vegas, liberal, most of the voters, and the rest of the state, a good chunk, a majority, let's say it that way, a slim majority in Las Vegas, where, by the way, we are now on the air, and another half throughout the rest of the state of Nevada, to include a purple section, Reno. And that can often be the swing state, if you will, or the swing county for the state of Nevada. Just so many things are pointing in Harris's favor, to include now, and I'm going to do this based on the Senate races that are active, not necessarily the presidential ones. We're going to talk about that in a second. Colin Allred is leading in Texas. He's beating Ted Cruz. We talked about that earlier today. Debbie Powell is not leading. She's just behind Rick Scott. But it is a slim margin. The reason why I put those in is because that is often how, when there's a prominent race like that, one senator is up for re-election. It usually goes the same way that their president could. Can it go differently? Like they can re-elect, they can re-elect Rick Scott, but maybe the state goes to Harris, or Debbie Powell will unseat Rick Scott, but the state goes to Trump. Texas, more likely, Colin Allred might likely unseat Ted Cruz, but the state will still go to Trump. And I'll fix that in a second because I think that's what's going to happen. But this is a likelihood. And in fact, regardless if Rick Scott and Ted Cruz maintain their seats or not, it is still something Republicans need to be deathly afraid of, in the fact that they're seats that are at risk. By the way, neither one of them received funding from the Republican Party and Mitch McConnell and friends. They all had to do that on their own. Rick Scott's a multimillionaire, always was, and has been self funded. But Ted Cruz is notably suffering at the hands of partially his own party. So let's bring this back to, we'll leave it a really light shade, even if Ted Cruz does win that. It's not going to be by much. And as such, there is becoming a presence of, especially, not necessarily liberalism throughout the state of Texas, but I think you're seeing people tied and fed up with MAGA-ism. So much so that I even took a look at myself and I said, is it me? Is it me? And, could I be the one here that's the asshole? And I'm like, no, I lived the things that I'm talking about. Being investigated 3 times by the Secret Service for no other reason than because of the fact that I'm gay. 2 of those investigations came during the Trump administration. And just other things that I've seen. I know what I've seen. I don't need your validation in agreeing with me on what I've seen. I don't need it. I saw it myself. I don't need you. You need me. And just we're actually putting together a list. So many things that I've said over the past, going on, what are we up to now? 3 years since I've retired and have been able to be verbal, outspoken, and just the different things that I've called that came true. Right down to the fact that my assessment of why people still follow Donald Trump, I find fascinating. That was the exact word used by Kamala Harris just recently for the same issue. So let's go back to the map one last time here. Even with Trump getting Arizona, we can switch Iowa back to Trump. We can leave him with Michigan. Yeah, North Carolina and Georgia now being in her favor, and I always thought they were very close. And I think I called these two. I think I might have given Georgia to him, but I went that way with Georgia. But even if she loses Georgia, even if she loses Michigan, she's still winning. I mean, this is ugly. I went with the blue wall. And I think that's what's more likely. And just because, and especially, I just saw a story. I'll have to, it was on YouTube. It's on one of my other YouTube. There was a short, and I'll find that and put it into the notes as well. But there was a short where the reporter was talking to a bunch of Democratic Party members in a very Republican county in Michigan. And they were saying about how Harris wall signs are the things to have. Here in Florida, we had a Trump rally in a small town known as the Villages. That's an actual address. You've seen commercials for this place, possibly on TV. It's a retirement community. A very, well, not so very. It's known to be a very conservative buy into neighborhood. Again, retirement community. However, it's a swingers community. which is not usually church-going type mentality. I know that because of having, kept my ear to the ground here, but also like in the gay community, we have what's called the hanky codes. It's the different colors of handkerchiefs and what back pocket you wear that handkerchief in tells your fellow gays what kind of gay you are. Same thing with the shower loofah, whatever it is, that you scrub your body with in a shower, that hangs from your car antenna. Remember when cars had radio antennas? Yeah. So now I think they also might hang from a rearview mirror. Regardless, there's a color code for shower loofahs and for how much you like to swing and what you like to do when you and your spouse have sex with other couples. Good old Bible thumpers. Anyway, they recently had a rally in the Villages where everybody brought their golf carts decorated with Trump memorabilia. They all came with Harris. All of them but one. All right, gang. Look for all this information in the comments for this video on Facebook. Ross Yergs in quote Yerger. It's my page, not my profile. Go there. Links to all this information we just talked about will be there this coming week. Same schedule, Monday through Friday at 11 a.m. Eastern, now 8 Pacific. We are on KSHP every Friday. They screwed up this past Friday, so they owe me one. I'm going to reach out to the general manager of that station and say, hey, what are we going to do about that? Let's pick Monday or Tuesday. Let's get it in before the big day. And then we'll be on the air with them that night, for them that afternoon, evening, 8 p.m. Eastern. We'll be on all radio stations that we're with. The Tan Talk Network here in Tampa, WWPR also in Tampa, WDJY in Atlanta, and now KSHP in Las Vegas. 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 Pacific. We'll be there for 3 hours with election results as they come in. There's 2 monitors here now. I no longer have I'm not in the garage anymore. I don't know if you can see behind me. I'm back in my living room at least. And which sucks because I'm no longer in air conditioning. But I got 2 monitors up. I'm hoping to have the other 2 powered. The power cables fried in the flood. So of the 4 monitors that I had, I lost 3 because of those cables. I replaced one of the 3 damaged cables. I still need to get 2. That's been the challenging type of cable to find. Hopefully we'll have that by Tuesday. That's it, gang. Again, I will see you Monday, 11 a.m. Eastern, 8 Pacific, and then Tuesday, same time, and then Tuesday night, 8 p. to 11 p. Eastern, 5 to 8 Pacific. Go to mastiffmedia.com. Go to mastiff.media or yergs.com to find out all of the venues where you can find us, video or audio only. All right, have the enjoyable rest of your Sunday. God, it's almost 10 o'clock. Wow. Have an enjoyable rest of your Sunday, and I will see you this week. Peace, baby. Where is my thing?